Alrighty everyone, welcome back. It is now getting closer to the end of September of 2023, and given that Bob Iger is preparing to do his last earnings call, which by the way takes place in early November for Disney, to really kind of present their overall plans for 2024 for everything related to the parks, the, of course, approach to the movies, the TV shows on Disney Plus, and more to the shareholders and the general public. So that's going to be a thing in early November. Keep an eye open for that, as a lot of people will be tuning into that. And we here also will be covering that bit by bit. Now, on top of that, we know that Bob Iger has been saying a lot of odd things lately about Disney. As I always like to call him, Bob Liger. This man likes to lie for a living, trying to convince that Disney is in a far better position than they really are. And we all know what's happening with the Disney stocks. That's not looking good either, as of right now. And it's only going to keep getting worse throughout the remainder of this year. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new and like this video to see future updates. I'm also on Twitter at Mike01. I thank you all so very much for the great and kind support. And let's get right into what's going on with Bob Iger and what he had to say about Johnny Depp. Now, we've been talking about this for a very long time now, that this Pirates of the Caribbean reboot by Craig Mazin, forgive me if I'm mispronouncing his last name there, The Last of Us showrunner, is the one who created the story for the Pirates reboot. It's a go so far, and they're just waiting on for these strikes to end to really dive into production. Now, as we all know, we know that Jenna Ortega has been in the mix, and that's creating a bit of a snag, a bit of a situation over at Disney, because she wants them to drop their woke agenda with her character. More on that a little bit, by the way, in the coming days as more details unravel. But what's interesting about this further is that with Disney focused on course correcting both Star Wars and Marvel, one big development has to do with actor Johnny Depp. Now, Bob Iger recently had much to discuss about his plans for the Pirates of the Caribbean reboot by delivering the following to the general public. Our main goal here at Disney by approaching our new iteration, he loves to use that word, iteration, our new iteration of Pirates of the Caribbean is by crafting a character that will overshine Captain Jack Sparrow that was portrayed by Mr. Depp. It's in our best interest in developing a proper character that can replace Johnny's performance as the iconic character that carried the franchise in recent years, that we feel was best to separate from both Jack as a character and Johnny. We felt it was the best business move to remain distant from an individual such as Mr. Depp that was caught up in many legal issues. We didn't want to get mixed up in that and felt it was best to chase in what we would like to call a soft reboot for our Pirates franchise in the coming years that we will be heavily investing into. So let me just, stop here quick, guys, before I get to the next thing that Bob Iger talks about. The fact that Disney themselves, Bob Iger himself, is admitting the fact that the reason why they shifted away from Johnny is that they felt that getting caught up in an actor, getting on board of the cast that had legal issues with Amber Heard, even though he was proven to be innocent in the whole thing, technically, right? Everyone was on board with Johnny, everybody was supporting Johnny, he had a lot of people backing him up, but regardless of that, Bob Iger just continues to flat out say that that was the reason why they did not include him, when in reality, guys, let's be honest, Johnny Depp was not in agreement with a lot of things that Disney was doing by begging him to come back. Alright, so that was another big element of that actually unraveled in the past couple of months. You guys may or may not recall this, but Disney was indeed trying to get Johnny Depp back on board of this Pirates of the Caribbean reboot that was initially going to be very female-driven focused. Alright, that was the first story that got axed. This was the movie that was going to star Margot Robbie and all these other characters on board, with Jack Sparrow as just one of the side characters here and there. Now, with that being said, the fact that this new Pirates reboot by Craig Mazin is going to be something on a different level that we've never seen before. It's going to feel different. It's going to look different. It's not going to really pay attention to the direct source material. The fact that Bob Iger is calling this a soft reboot makes me imagine that, yes, it is connected to Pirates of the Caribbean 5 somehow, some way. And to be honest, I think that soft reboots are terrible. They make no sense. It's like they're considered a sequel, but they're not a sequel at the same time. It's just a really odd type of approach when it comes to its format in its own nature. But let's get into what Iger had to say additionally on top of this. He goes on to continue to insult Johnny Depp again and his character Jack Sparrow. So, we are proud to have The Last of Us showrunner Craig Mazin, he says, that created a wonderful story that will make fans of the Pirates franchise to focus on the future and to unburden themselves from being dedicated to Johnny's performance as Jack Sparrow. Previously, we did have discussions of bringing back Jack along with Johnny Depp. However, we ran into many creative and financial differences with that approach that put us in a bit of a snag, and we felt Johnny was being unrealistic with his demands about the role of Jack Sparrow at the time. Craig was able to come up with a character that will certainly unburden future creators from Johnny's Jack Sparrow, as we fully intend to adapt into this becoming a franchise not just meant for theaters, but also for Disney Plus with spin-off shows and more. We value our past with Johnny, but we realize that obtaining his role again would only have kept us in a creative roadblock for the future of Pirates. Now, here's the biggest problem that I have about this, is the fact that they think that not only by making this Pirates reboot a technical soft reboot, which is just a mess, to be honest, without having Johnny Depp as Jack Sparrow, makes no sense at all. Now, we know that there's a character in here called Stella. That's the code name that Jenna Ortega's character is aimed for right now. That's going to have some kind of connection to Jack Sparrow. We're not quite sure what that connection really is, but there's been a lot of people that think it might be his daughter. I really don't know about that. That might seem a little too good to be true for Disney, but hey, I'm not going to put it past them. That's a possibility. But I think there's something a lot less complex than that. I think that what it could be is that maybe she's like a friend to Jack Sparrow or something very, lackluster and just very subpar. I bet it's something like that. We'll have to wait and see. But we know that this new Pirates reboot, it's not going to be just different in tone, it's going to have a different style. It's going to have a different approach when it comes to the dialogue, the humor, the way the actors will be executed in this film, the writing, the directing, everything is going to be different than the past 5 Pirates of the Caribbean movies. And how Bob Iger puts it out there that he feels that this is a great way to unburden themselves from Johnny Depp's Jack Sparrow is just ludicrous. That's an insult to not just Johnny, but also to the character of Jack. Now, look, we know that Jack is an iconic figure still to this day at the Disney parks. So what's going to happen with Jack Sparrow once these movies take off? Well, Bob Iger talked about that a couple of days ago. We covered it, that they said that if this franchise, this reboot, becomes very successful and takes off, that they will have different plans for Jack Sparrow's role at the Disney parks. And to me, that sounds like they're going to remove Jack in the future if these movies become very successful, which, by the way, guys, I highly doubt that they will. Let's just be clear about that. I don't see these being successful, so I would like to hear what your take is on all of this, by the way, below in the comments. And if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel, and I will catch you guys next time.
From night to moon we hear them moans again.